morning, welcome back to the Amputee Angler, and we are indoors today. I'm still in my gym attire because there's absolutely no point me getting washed and cleaned for what I'm about to show you, and that is how to make and fish a Black Bream chum. So unlike a traditional shark, tope, conger, chum, we need big bags of scent on the anchor or hanging over in a rubby-dubby. A Black Bream chum is designed just to get a bit of feed, a bit of scent directly down to your hook bait that's going to waft around for a little bit and bring those big Black Bream in. Coming into September now, in fact we are already in September, and at the start of the year the Black Bream get on the reefs when they're breeding, the big ones along with all the small ones. They're all quite localised on patches of reefs before they spread out to all the beaches. And then come the autumn time, for as long as time can remember, the big Black Bream start getting on all the wrecks and the offshore reefs, and they do get big, and you can fish for them in a number of ways, which I'm going to show you in a following video. But down the years I've tried and had a bit of success with Black Bream chum. So all it is going to consist of a number of ingredients, and it's going to be some high oil trout pellets, a bit of fish. You can mix up your own fish like you would do a normal traditional chum, so you can just mince some through, but I'm cheating a little bit, which I'll show you in a second. And then a little bit of bran and a little bit of fish oil. So let me show you what we've got, and then I'll show you how we're going to put it together. Okay, so this is our ingredients. I will put a little still picture in here for you and a little bit of text so you can see. Essentially though, we've got some trout pellets. Any sort of pellet like this works. Halibut, trout, salmon, anything like that. As long as it's got a high oil content, then that's going to be a winner. Then we've got a little bit of bran. And I'm cheating here a little bit. You could mix up your own fish, save a few quid. But because I'm only making a small batch today, I'm not going to get the mincer out and then spend hours cleaning it. So what I've got here is I had a couple of tins of tuna in the cupboard. A cheaper option is the little tins of sardines and mackerel. Get the ones with oil, not tomato juice, anything like that. You want the ones with oil or brine, because that will help bind it, and again it puts a slick down. And then what we've got here is a little bit of fish oil. That's salmon oil in there, and I think maybe a bit of halibut oil. My dog eats fish as well, so I've been a bit of a cheapskate, and I've been saving some of the oil over time to get a little cup of oil because we don't need much. And then what we're going to do is we're going to crush these pellets down and start blending all this together in our mixing bowl, and then I'm going to take you through what we do with it and how we fish it. Now I appreciate you can't smell stuff on camera, but I've got these salmon pellets here, and they're salmon, trout, halibut, all works the same. When you pick them up you can feel them, they're greasy. And that's because they've got a lot of oil content, and that's what you want, because much like when you're doing a shark chum, you want that scent wafting down the water. This is what we're going to be wanting, but down in our hook baits. So you can really feel they're nice and greasy. As they are, they're quite chunky, so when we deliver them, there's two ways we're going to do it. One's in a PVA bag, which I'll talk to you about in a minute, and the other one is essentially a big method feeder. So what I'm going to do though is I'm just going to crush these down into slightly smaller bits, because I want a few bits to waft out of my bags and my feeders. Obviously if we're using a PVA bag, these will come out whole, but I want to try and make them a bit more cloudy so it goes down in a bit more of a dust when it hits the bottom. So I'm just going to break these down and crush these down, and then we'll start mixing it together. So there's only a number of ways to crush these pellets. You've got to do what works for you, but it's raining outside today, so I'm not going to go outside. So what I've done is I've just poured the pellets into a carrier bag. Going to spin it a couple of times to make it tight, and then with the back end of a saucepan, I'm just going to bang the bag to crush the pellets up. A bit like you're making a cheesecake, if you've ever made a cheesecake when you're making the base. This is what we're doing, but it will be the worst cheesecake in the history of cheesecake. So let's bash these pellets up. There we go. So all we've done now is we've poured our pellets. Did give them a little bit of a bash with a hammer, but actually they're a lot harder than I thought they were going to be. So I just kept these ones whole. I've bought smaller ones in case that happened anyway. All I've done is pour a little bit of water in there and a little bit of my oil, and you can see the colour of that now. You can see how soupy that's gone, and I'm just leaving it to soak in there for a minute. And then what we're going to do is we're now going to pour in our tuna. So that's got all the briny water in there as well. Like I said, oil would be better really, but I'm working on what I've got in the cupboard because it is tipping down outside. I'm not going to go outside again. So we've got a bit of tuna. Tuna stinks, we all know that. So I'm just going to pour that in there and get every last little bit out. And then what that is there, tuna by nature is a really flaky fish. I know, I'm aware this is the worst cooking program in the world, isn't it? But tuna is a really flaky fish, so what that's going to do is send out loads of little particles down that water as well. And what we've got is the pellets is what's going to hold the, that's what's going to hold the fish in, because that's going to be a constant slow releasing scent. And then the tuna and the oil is what's going to explode out of your PVA bag or your method feeder, which I'll show you in a bit. And that's what's going to be the instant down the tide, draw the fish in, and then obviously when they come into where the pellets and stuff are, and they come up the tide to your scent, that's where your hook base is going to be. Absolutely brilliant, this, I love it. So I'm just going to pour the second tin in now. You don't need much, because unlike when I say when you're sharking, you need a lot of chum. When you're breaming, it's quite constant because you're up, down, up, down, up, down, but you're only sending down small batches at a time. And after a while, once them bream are in and feeding and they're homed in around these pellets, they're going to be on you. It works in shallow and deep water. I've had it working on the shallow reefs and the deeper reefs down the years. Where I'm going soon, it's a deeper reef, but it holds big bream, so I'm hoping this is going to give me an advantage. There we go. Now you can see that looking like the worst soup in the world. That's got quite stodgy. What you can hear snuffling in the background. I'm about to lock my dog away out through that door there, and she can smell the tuna under the door. So yeah, this is what it looks like now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to slowly add a little bit of bran to the mixture just to thicken it up a little bit. And then again, we're going to stir that in. It's going to start getting really stodgy soon, but that's what we want. You can see now already it's starting to go a little bit soupy. Just add little bits at a time, because if you go too far, you end up making it too thick. But get it all mixed in. What the bran does is the bran acts as a binding agent, and that's what gets it sort of locking together. Starts to become a bit more like a ground bait, which is what we're after. So just use your sort of, use your brain with it. If it's too runny, then obviously it's going to disperse really quick. So what we're trying to do is get that consistency down, just to more like a, almost like where it's a bit malleable almost. If you do carp fishing or freshwater fishing, you'll know what I'm talking about, because you can change the consistencies of your ground bait to explode on impact, or to have a bit more lasting effect to get down to the bottom, and that's what we're trying to achieve here. So I'll get all this mixed in, and then I'll show you again in a minute. There we go. Finally, now that's got a really nice consistency to it. It's getting a little bit stodgy. What you've got to remember is the pellets and the bran is going to keep soaking up the water, because when we finish this in a bit, we're going to leave it to settle for an hour just to soak up all the juices and get a proper thick consistency, and then we'll put it into our storage container in a bit. But what we're going to do now, the last little bit of oil that I've got in my cup, I'm just going to pour that over. And then that's everything in there now, and this is smelling absolutely pungent. My missus is going to go mental when she comes home. I'm going to have to open all the doors and windows. I don't see too many people doing chum for bream. They do it for dogfish and smooth hounds and tope and sharks and all the rest of it, but no one does it for bream. And bream, when you get them on the feed, if you fish for them, they go absolutely mental. You get them in a frenzy, they're competing with each other and they're bang, bang, and it can be non-stop. Did an earlier video where we got that going with a bream, and we had 101 bream in a morning's fishing. And the autumn bream are big. They go like footballs, they're that big. They go round when they start getting big. And this chum, it can really bring them in. So absolutely brilliant. So let's get finishing up here, and I'll show you the finished article. There we are, that's our finished chum there. Look at that. You can't smell it, but I can assure you that is absolutely pungent. Salmon pellets, halibut pellets, fish oil and tuna flakes in there with the brine or the oil that you get from the tin, a bit of bran all mixed in. That is going to be absolutely pungent. Really is going to work well, that. Let's talk about getting it down to the bottom now. Now, if you're fishing a shallow reef, then there's two ways you can do things. And if you're fishing a deeper reef, then there's also two ways you can do things. It's entirely up to you. On a shallower reef, what I've done before, and I haven't seen many people do it, I'm not saying people don't do it, I'm just putting it out there maybe in the public domain, is I've taken what carpers used to do, or still do, and that is use little PVA bags. Now, these come in all different sorts of sizes. Anyone not familiar what a PVA bag is, it essentially is dissolvable. And what you do is you fill it up with your hook bait, so you're in freshwater case, your boilies, your sweet corn or whatever, and then you simply twist it around a little bit, and then your bag full of goodies is hooked onto, literally through your hook, or it's put around your lead, and then that goes down, and the idea is that that melts over the space of a minute, 2 minutes, and then your hook bait disperses. Now, bream fishing, that is absolutely ideal. Because if you're putting a chum down on a dropper, and I've seen people use big fancy devices, you know, the big cage release type things, that's fine. But if you lose it because you snag up in the reef, it's 50, 60 quid down the drain, 20, 30 quid, whatever it is. PVA bags, I think they were literally 2 quid for 50 or 3 quid, something like that. Come in all sorts of sizes, and it just melts away. It's easy. And then if you put that on your hook bait or around your lead, all you do is fill it up, just wet your fingers, pinch the top, or just hook it through, and it sticks to itself. As that dissolves, it's going to go poof, right exactly where your hook baits are. Not down the tide after you've dropped it half hour later or whatever, right by your hook baits. So these are absolutely ideal. Stuff it full, twist it round, hook it on, send it down. Shallow water or deep, it's 1 minute to 2 minutes for those to dissolve. So it's not going to take 2 minutes to get to the bottom. So you can be confident you've got ground bait in and around your hook baits. And not only that, the scent is on the bottom where you're going to want to be fishing. Now, if you're fishing a wreck, this is good as well, because that's going to wash into the wreck exactly where you want it to be. It's not going over the top and down the tide a million miles away. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant bits of kit. PVA bags for bream fishing, potentially other fishing if you want to. Highly, highly recommend. And I will try and show you these in action over the next week or two. Now, the second way we can do this is with one of these. Essentially, it is a big version of a freshwater cage feeder. This one is about £1, so it's ideal. It's nice and big. It's weighted at the bottom. It's got a clip point at the top. So the idea is that you would obviously have your main line going there. You need a big rubbing leader, really, something big, thick, because that's quite weighty. And then what you do is have that go down to the bottom, and then up your line somewhere you would have 1, maybe 2 hooks coming off. So that's letting out all the scent on the bottom, and then your bream rigs, maybe a couple of floaty beads like I've shown you in a previous video, will be wafting just above this. Now this is perfect because it will let out the scent, but it will hold the pellets in, so the pellets will remain inside the feeder. So they're gonna have to come to the feeder to try and get what they think is their food, and they're gonna be in and around, and of course your loose offering is gonna be just above it. What you can do with this as well, if you're fishing shallow water, you can just send this down straight away, sort of 20, 30, 40 foot, 50 foot, and you're not gonna have too much problems with the scent washing out. Because obviously as soon as that hits the water, your flaky fish, your oils and stuff, that's gonna be starting to go out as your feeder's going down to the bottom. What you can do to slow it up, again, coming back to these PVA bags, I'm hoping some of you are starting to have a light bulb moment now, is you can just cover the top of it. These ones are a little bit small really for this feeder, but get a slightly bigger one, or just use 2. But what you can do is you can wrap the feeder in the PVA bag. As you can see, the bottom half is open here, but again, put another one on the bottom, or just get a bigger PVA bag. And again, then what you do, when you send that down, that's gonna take 1 minute, 2 minutes to dissolve, and then all your bait's gonna come wafting out. And that there is how we deliver our bream chum down there. Now I know there's going to be people going, oh, chum for bream. You chum for other things. You chum for shark, tope, conger eels, smooth hounds, dogfish, and you do it because you know that scent is what's going to bring the fish in. Bream are no different. Every fish is on that bottom hunting around for its food source. If you can give it a heads up and make its life a bit easier and go, oh, there's a massive smell over there, I'm going to go and investigate, they will come into your food source, down that trail, down that scent, and they will find your hook baits a lot quicker. If you're fishing a reef system, it's going to bring all those fish in. I'm not going to say where I'm going bream fishing next, but I'm going out quite deep to a deeper reef system, and it is absolutely polluted with fish this time of year, and it doesn't get fished that much. This here, I'm hoping, is going to be a winner for me. So hopefully I've given you a few ideas. That's how we're going to get our chum down. Now I'm going to show you about the storage and just what we're going to do with it for a final little finish up. But those 2 items there, PVA bags, little cage feeder, winning. Obviously, anyone who's worked with chum before knows it's a messy business, all right? This one here is a bit different because it's not so powdery like a normal shark chum is, where it's got a nice bit of bran in it. It has got bran in it, but it's generally quite sticky and consistent in its texture. So all I do is, once again, I've raided my local gym. If you go to the gym, or even if you don't go to the gym, they're actually really good for fishing, because the little tubs of protein powder and the pre-workouts you get, first of all, if you've seen one of my other videos, they have those little silicone sachets in to keep the damp out. They're actually really good for dotting around your boat and all your little lure boxes and tackle boxes to take the moisture away. So first off, just ask your local gym to save all those little silicone sachets. But the second thing is, ask them to save your protein tubs. These are really good sizes. They're two litre tubs essentially. And for the bream chum, they're absolutely brilliant because you're not going to get through a great deal of it because you're only sending little bits in at a time. They come with a nice big scoop, so you can scoop it out and put it into your PVA bags without getting too dirty. You can wear a pair of gloves if you're that way inclined, or you can be a real caveman and just use your hands. But these little tubs, they're designed to be screw seal tight, airlock tight, so that absolutely no water's going to get out, and they're free. You haven't got to go buy any specific Tupperware for it or any cheap Chinese tubs that are then going to break open, or you need elastic bands. These protein tubs, absolutely brilliant for storing your chum in. They go in the freezer, they're nice and neat. They go in the fridge, nice and neat. Your missus won't tell you because it's leaked everywhere, so you won't get told off. And they're nice and easy to transport, and they're also quite durable. So when you're rolling around at sea, you know you're not going to have a big accident. So another little top tip there. So that concludes the chum video. I am going to, down the line, show this in practice. Just take it from me, I've done it before. It does work a treat, and it can give you the edge. But I will try and do some fishing if the weather lets me over the next couple of weeks on the big Black Bream. But hopefully you picked up some ideas there from the PVA bags and the little method feeders. I hope you found that enjoyable and you may have learned something. If you like it, put it into practice and show me, tell me. If you don't like it, then don't use it. Thanks for watching. I'm Ben the Amputee Angler, and please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you for another video shortly.